I'd like to thank all of you for coming out tonight. Our MUN team feels much appreciation towards all of you and your support. All funds raised tonight will be held towards future conferences for our MUN team in order to ensure that all IVC and MUN delegates receive equal access to conferences. Please feel free to treat yourselves to any refreshments and snacks. Again, they're quite tasty and certainly satisfying. And if you could please silence your cell phones, we'd really appreciate that. In case any of you don't know what MUN is, it stands for Model United Nations, and basically we're a class, we're also a club, and we go to these conferences that allow individuals to act as nations, just as one would in the United Nations. It's a great experience, and it also looks good on a college resume, because if you haven't considered doing that yet. So for tonight's event, will be with regard to gender inequality. Gender inequality has certainly been a topic of interest. Humanity has seemingly held onto traditional ways of life that some may argue are not exactly relevant in today's society. Tonight we will welcome 6 excellent panelists who will debate differing perspectives of 3 particular issues: economic oppression, transgendered and transsexual violence, and gender violence and discrimination. If you would please welcome our first panelist, let me give the bio first, or the abstract. So the first debate is economic oppression a cause or a consequence of gender inequality? If you look at gender equality throughout history, women have been treated as the inferior sex. The history of the movement for gender equality has been an intellectual, political, social, and economic history of the changing relationship between men and women. The first topic we will look at today is economic oppression and whether it is a cause or a consequence of gender equality. In today's present setting, economic oppression can be seen in several forms, such as the practice of bonded labor, serfdom, and low wages. Radicals opposing economic oppression feel that economic inequality is killing the American dream and has tainted American democracy. Those who seek a decent life are subjected to unfair economic policies that strictly favor the rich. This is not about race, but instead money and power. This system must be changed, or the gap of the rich and poor will continue to widen, benefiting only the rich. Now, if you'd please help me welcome our first 2 panelists tonight, debating economic oppression. Let me see, Farheen, or Eric. Eric, if you would please stand up. Eric is in his 2nd year at Irvine Valley College and in his 1st year in Model United Nations. He has competed in 2 conferences this semester and will compete in New York and San Francisco in upcoming weeks. He has won the 2012 Eichmann Award for Outstanding Delegate and looks forward to continue his Model UN career next semester. Thanks, Eric. And Farheen, our next panelist is Farheen Jamil. Farheen Jamil is in her 2nd semester here at Irvine Valley College as a Model UN delegate. She has participated in several local conferences and won the award for Outstanding Delegate at the 2012 Eichmann Conference at Riverside Community College. This semester, Farheen will be partaking in conferences in New York, San Francisco. Farheen plans to be transferring to a 4-year university in the fall of 2013 as an international relations major. She hopes that her work in the Model United Nations will help her gain knowledge and skills that will help her become successful in this field. Thank you. Please help me welcome Eric. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel, for your gracious introduction. If we're going to address the conditions of global economic oppression as a consequence to gender inequality, we must first have a clear understanding of what oppression is. The most widely used definitions are power with prejudice. That is, a power to enforce prejudice and stereotypes, and a system of advantage based on some attribute, whether it be gender, sexual orientation, or identity. Then we must acknowledge the connection between sexism and economic oppression. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels can best describe how economic oppression became a consequence of gender inequality. Their theory rests on the relationship between the sexual division of labor and the mode of production. In hunter-gatherer in horticultural societies, there was a sexual division of labor, but both sexes were allowed a high degree of independence in performing those tasks. Moreover, women not only provided much of the food, but in many cases also provided most of the income. Women in pre-class societies were able to combine motherhood and produce labor, and in many cases could carry small children with them as they gathered or planted. By the same token, many goods could be produced in the household. Because women were central to production in these pre-class societies, inequality between the sexes was non-existent. In fact, most elder women in particular enjoyed a relatively high status. All of that changed with the development of the private property. According to the sexual division of labor, men tended to take charge of heavier agricultural jobs like plowing, since it was more difficult for pregnant women, and they could endanger small children who would be carried along with them. Moreover, since men traditionally took care of big game hunting, it made more sense for them to oversee domestication of cattle. This is the start of gender inequality in economy. As production shifted away from the household, the role of reproduction changed substantially. The shift toward agricultural production sharply increased the productivity of labor. This, in turn, increased the demand for labor. The greater the number of field workers, the higher the surplus. Thus, unlike hunter-gatherer societies which sought to limit the number of offspring, agricultural societies sought to maximize women's reproduction potential so the family would have more children to help in the field. Therefore, at the same time that men were playing an increasing role in production, women were required to play a much more central role in reproduction. Women became trapped with their individual families, and as the reproducers of society, they became cut off from production. These changes took place first among the property-owning families, but eventually, the nuclear family became an economic unit of society as a whole. It is important to understand that these changes did not take place overnight, but over a period of thousands of years. Moreover, greed was not responsible for the unequal distribution of wealth, nor was male chauvinism the reason why power fell into the hands of men, while the status of women fell dramatically. Though it would be fair to argue that economic oppression could have started as a cause of gender inequality, over time, a deeper look is necessary to see that society has inarguably turned economic oppression into a consequence. As mentioned before, bonded labor in India, serfdom, forced labor all around the world, low wages, denial of equal opportunity, employment discrimination, and economic discrimination based on sex are all a result of gender inequality. Over time, society has misinterpreted why women are not as productive in the economy and have used it to unfairly keep women from opportunity. As a result, economic oppression has wrongfully become a consequence of gender inequality, and women are struggling to become equal. Thank you.
And now, if you would please welcome Farhi and Jamil.